and welcome to the Tech Show. Coming up this week, what have we got?
We've got some suspension from those Frenchies at Fast.
Yeah, we've got some bike packing bags.
And some waterproof dungarees.
And much, much more. 'Tis the season to be jolly, so today we're going to be really positive and talk about things we actually really love. Tech on our bike that we really love and that gives us an unreasonable amount of joy. And for me, first one, and I know the comments are going to light up with this, but it is internal cable routing. Now, I know what you're thinking, but it's a specific type. I like the tubes inside the tubes where you can pull a gear cable out, not have to worry, and just shove another one in and it just pops out where it's supposed to. No fiddling around, no removing your bottom bracket, none of that.
Nice.
And that, for me, is just joy. And I know external routing is great for that. I do. I've owned many bikes with external routing, but I can't strap things to my bike in the same way. They kind of get in the way and they gather a lot of mud. So for me, this is the great middle ground.
Okay.
What about you?
Mine is probably also controversial, so the commenters will get steamed up. But
Yeah.
flat bar gravel bikes, which is a joke for me. I keep saying it and people get a little bit kind of
But it's not a joke.
worked
Scott
up.
brought out one, didn't they?
They did, but it's just a rigid mountain bike. It is a mountain bike with a rigid fork, okay? That is a flat bar gravel bike. And that's my big thing, is that XC hardtails are awesome. Okay, they're not as capable as a trail hardtail. They're not actually maybe as fun because they are on techie terrain, they're not as fun to ride. But compared to a gravel bike, they're loads better on technical terrain. So if you're thinking about getting a gravel bike, by all means do. But don't forget the humble XC hardtail. They are very, very, very fun. There you go. Controversial take.
And if you're building up your hardtail, what I would be putting on it is Shimano Dior. What I love is base spec group sets because they're so good now. I mean, Shimano Dior, okay, it's not the bottom, is it?
No, not anymore.
But it's
No.
not XT and it's not XTR. And what you get with Dior is now it's 12-speed. It's got a clutch mech on the derailleur. You can get that 51 tooth on the cassette. Okay, the cassette's all steel rather than multiples of steel and some aluminium rings. So it's a little bit heavier. But that's just more durable, in my opinion.
Well, if you want durability, Q's is there with Hyperglide.
Yeah,
Okay, you have to go down to 11
Sure,
speed.
yeah.
But yeah, that's
But
what I'd go for.
I do like 12-speed. And with the Dior,
That's
you
good.
still get the multi-shift like you do with the higher specs. You can multi-shift up into easier gears, but you can't multi-shift down into harder ones. But hey, if you're not racing, who cares?
Well, I care about racing. So something that has been on lots of racers' bikes, and I think we should care about, even though a lot of people in comments don't care, you should care. But I'll tell you why you need to care, because we probably didn't explain it well enough before. And this is like the tube mass dampers and the steering dampers and why we should give the monkeys about it. And we should care because it means that something good is happening to bikes. And that means we're getting good geometry. So on race bikes, downhill race bikes, we've had a kind of a wave of first sort of O-chain popped up on the scene and lots of bikes around that, which is a separate sort of topic. But the steering dampers and the tube mass dampers, for me, are a really important flag that now even pro bikes have settled on geometry. So we're not playing around with custom crowns, we're not playing around with different offsets, we're not having to play around with different rear end geometry. Okay, that does happen, but a lot of that has settled. We're getting more consistent, more pro-like geometry on lots and lots of bikes. And the pros, opposed to having to do radical custom bikes, they're looking for really small incremental changes. And that means that with the product cycles that we have in the bike industry of kind of 2, 3, 4 years, it should mean that everybody will be able to get a bike with really decent sorted geometry. And I think that's just better. So that's why we should care about racing and what happens, is because it does trickle down. And now that trickle down should happen even quicker.
Wow. Talking of racing, sort of. Bike packing racing, maybe?
I mean, ultras, yeah,
anyway,
they're there.
Another thing that gives me an unreasonable amount of joy is walking around shows like Bespoke, for example, and seeing custom-fitted frame bags. I mean, I know this isn't going to be on everyone's budget here, but seeing a bike bag that fits every single millimetre of a frame, and using all of that space, it just brings me an unreasonable amount of joy, especially if that bike has, you know, tons of bottle bosses so you can attach it rather than throwing straps around your nice painted frame. And I know this is bougie, but there are bikes out there that are starting to do this as a standard now. So Salsa do a couple of frame bags they are custom for the Spearfish and something else, I can't remember what it's called, but it goes around the shock and fits the frame perfectly. And last week we talked about Acotic, which came out with a bag as well on their hardtail, and it was a semi sort of full frame bag, but it's still custom to their angles, and I just love that. And even maybe bringing it over to the trail and enduro world is Canyon did a little bag that attached to the underside of your top tube as well, and that's just like, I like that. I don't want to strap things to my bike.
Yeah, no, I think more of the kind of like bottle mount standards mount. So coming out, it's good. I'm going to change the topic completely and just talk about my hands.
Oh,
because I used to suffer from hand pump, especially actually on longer bike rides.
Hand pump, not arm pump.
No, yeah, like sore hands.
Okay, right, yeah.
Arm pump, hand pump, and then I switched to ergon grips and it went away. And even for ultras, I switched to the classic big with a support one, and it does look a little bit dorky, but then you ride them for ages.
They're
they're really comfy,
really good.
And then I found that the GA2 is really good. Like you can get it in a fat diameter. It's bigger. So it's not cutting edge tech. It's not custom bag, but it's just bolt on tech that works. So yeah.
Well, I mean, for my last one now, it kind of is tech, but it isn't tech because it's like fabric tech. But then it's not new tech; it's old tech, and that is merino wool. Like, it is just so good. But I mean, I'm going to specify here just socks and neck warmers, because what merino does is it's such a fine material. The fibres are so fine. They're like a third of the width of a strand of hair, like so fine. They trap air and they're so warm. They just, they're incredibly warm, but they can absorb water a lot. So they're kind of good as a base layer if you want to absorb sweat in the summer. But in the winter, I think they absorb too much water and they keep it there. But as a buff or a sock, just riding through puddles is just not a problem anymore. And to me, that is tech.
Okay, no, that's tech. Okay, I'm going segue again, techie, bit nerdy, pumps, floor pumps.
That brings you joy, does it?
Yeah, no, it does, because I switch tyres loads, because I enjoy messing about with bike tyres. I think it's really fun. And in the past, with tubeless, it was a bit of a faff. But then I learned that you need to put more rim tape on for quite a few different rim profiles. Actually, more tape will help you. So do a dry run first, because then you're not kind of swearing and covered in sealant. You're just able to check that it airs up. And the other thing is dedicated mountain bike track pumps. So you might kind of think, track pump's a track pump, and I'll just get one. And it's like, no, seek out the mountain bike ones. So they're lower pressure, so they go kind of 0 to 60 in terms of PSI. And whilst you might think, that doesn't make a difference, it means that they can run a much bigger barrel. And the bigger diameter means that you can just chuck in more air straight away. So even with a slightly stubborn tubeless tyre, you can kind of just put in a couple of big pumps, and because it chucks in so much air, it pops into place.
Yeah, so that does sound good, actually.
Yeah, simple.
Well, what do you think, guys? Let us know down in the comments below. What gives you an unreasonable amount of joy when it comes to your bike or the tech on it, or the tools that you're using to fix it?
News. Okay, first up is a very fast shock. Yeah, a bit of a pun there. It's from French suspension tuners called Fast. They've been around for quite a while, so you might not have heard of them, but they've been doing good things. Tracy Hanna won a world title in downhill on one of their shocks. And so they've had their Phoenix shock out for a while, where they tried to pair some of their cross-country tech with their downhill tech for a perfect enduro shock. And they've just sort of relaunched it. So it's got more of the good stuff that you want. So interestingly, it's got a speed-specific piston, which I know kind of might sound obvious, but as the sort of shaft speed of how the damping works. So they say that it can help give you superb grip and traction. And it's also got three-way compression, so it helps you through low, mid, and high-speed riding. This is all what they're saying, because we haven't got a shock to play with or tell you, or a dyno to be able to tell either. But the other upgrade it's got is it's now got a hydraulic bottom out, which is nice to see. So it affects the last 25% of sort of shock stroke. So it means you can tune that, which on a coil shock, which this is, it's really nice to see, I think, just giving you that ability to tune it in. Aluminium shaft is standard, but there is a steel one for those that are using a yoke. So some of the suspension designs that have a sort of yoke connecting means that it puts lots more side load. So some coil shocks just, you can't run them because they might snap. And finally, Fast have reduced the size of the shock. So it's sort of 6 mil down, smaller and slimmer, and then the piggyback is 3 mil further back. And all of that is to make sure that, well, the shock fits more bikes, which is quite clever. So pricing starts from, for the standard one, for the €995, and they've got a limited edition in purple, which does look amazing, is a bit more spendy, that's €1,200. But yeah, very fancy, Fast suspension. There you go.
Speaking of suspension, if you haven't heard of On One before, most UK people will know who they are. They were one of the first to start doing direct to consumer. They were more sort of affordable bikes. They dealt with a lot of steel hardtails and alley hardtails. Well, mainly just in the hardtail range, really.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And now, bringing it right up to date, they're releasing a full suspension mountain bike, and it should be a budget aluminium. And Owen, does this look familiar to you? It's an atomic.
Yeah, it is an atomic.
Any bells in the?
I've got no reaction to that at all.
No reaction to that.
No reaction at all.
And
it does
that
look very similar.
Looks familiar, doesn't it? Anyway, this full suspension is brand new. It's aluminium. It's 29er only, and it's only coming in 3 sizes: medium, large, or extra large. What's with the smalls? Come on, guys. And we're guessing it's a 130 to 150 mil.
Yeah.
That's just a guess because there's minimal details on the website, but it is available for pre-order. It's got a sort of a linkage high and low that you can flip chip that you can switch, but the head angle in low is 65 degrees, and it's mostly SRAM mechanical specs, but the pre-order is starting from 2,499, which isn't a bad price really, for a full suspension bike.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, let us know your thoughts about where that bike may be inspired from. I just can't place it myself.
No.
Okay, next up, we've got bib trousers. Now, what you're thinking, no, bibs should be sort of tight because they've got the elasticated bits on top. No, these are bib trousers.
Baggies.
They are baggies.
Right.
So instead of having that awkward bit where you're trying to wrestle it around your kind of middle.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, right, just me. Orcs. Waterproof trousers with bibs. These are not new, but yeah, there they are. It's probably very hard to see, but you've got high front. Interestingly, very nice high back with a bit of elastication in there as well. But the idea is to keep you very dry when it's horrible and cold. And I do need to say, because we've got lots of comments about it on the kind of like washing your bike video of my bike being exceptionally muddy and how we shouldn't ride trails in the mud. And you're right, certain trail conditions, we shouldn't ride trails because it can be damaging. Here in the UK, if we didn't ride our bikes in the mud, we probably wouldn't ride our bikes at all.
Would we?
And we're also riding on kind of sustainable trails. We're not riding on stuff where it's illegal to ride. So we are being vaguely sustainable. But do listen to your kind of local trail conditions and your local sort of like, trail advisory note. So if it is wet, don't ride. But if you do ride, get some waterproof trousers because it'll make all the difference.
Yeah.
These ones are from Madison, so windproof, waterproof, chest pocket on them, which is good too.
Wow.
Pricing from $199. There you go.
Excellent. And over another British company actually is Tailfin, because they're only down the road in Bristol, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Tailfin, you may have known them, or maybe you don't know them, but they were famous for bringing out their rear rack mount. So it was kind of flyweight, and it could hold a load of bags. And it was particularly good for suspension bikes. So us mountain bikers like that brand. And they're really starting to push their bags now. They're really coming out with loads of different bike packing bags. They recently came out. Did you see the handlebar bag? I don't think we actually talked about it on the news, but it is pretty cool. It's got its own mount that's quick release. So you can just take it off real quickly, no straps, and it also stops the bob and rattle. So they're really thinking about rough riding here, I think. And one of their newest products now is a new top tube bag. It comes in 3 sizes, a 1.6, a 2.2, or a 3 litre, which is huge. They all have dual zippers, so they go in different directions, and lots of pockets, and even pockets that are velcroed in and out, and lots of little bungee sort of elasticated bits to put your tools in so that things aren't rattling around if it's not completely full, which I find a lot with bike packing. And these sort of straps and very clever rubber mounts to make everything fit on your bike nicely and stay quiet, which is very nice, starting from £85.
Yeah, the launch video is very good too, if you've not seen that. Yeah.
What's it all about?
You have to watch it.
Okay,
it's good.
sorry.
Once you've seen it, you'll know it. There's sort of a fishing theme, but it is...
I have.
Yeah,
I have
it's very
seen,
good.
Yeah, it's
I guess finally, it is the run-up to Christmas, so we should mention if you're
that
struggling
time again
to put something in somebody's mountain bike Christmas stocking, or you haven't got a gift already for somebody who's a mountain biker, but you wouldn't be watching, would you? No, it's brilliant, really. Not only is it a wonderful guide with lots of insights from all of us presenters on here, it's also got wee video links, so you don't have to kind of like...
QR codes.
Yeah, there you
Cool,
go. You don't
isn't
have to kind of like get it all grubby in the workshop because you can just find the link you need. Lots of setup guide advice in there as well. So yeah, very good. On the shop right now. I have seen this very, very, very cool Firefly. So Firefly are kind of some OG titanium builders. They do lots of very innovative stuff, including making their own forks from titanium and 3D printed bits. And they have got this wonderful bike. Yeah.
That's 2 of our favourite things right there. Flat bar gravel and custom frame bags.
Yeah, and see how we're saying flat bar gravel, but it's got like 2.5-inch tyres on, okay? So less the hate. And it's got ergon grips.
That's surely ATB. That's too many genres.
It's brilliant.
But it's still pretty.
Yeah, I really like that a lot.
And is that titanium?
It is,
Look at it. It's like the half rust, half teal. I love it.
Yeah, no, very good. And you can get, like this one, they're all custom, so have a look at Firefly. Lots of lovely things. The other thing we've seen is a wonderful video from the Astons and Endura all about Charlie and Andy, and just sort of talking about how they've gone from, like, I guess, younger riders, youthful riders who had got lots of potential to then, proving that potential is worth it. So, fun video there. Quiz time!
Yes,
I really enjoyed the quiz. There was a lot of dissenting voices about it being overly nerdy, but all of you lovely people that got the
Overly
right
nerdy.
answer.
Do you know what channel you're watching right now?
No, I'm not saying that. There was a bit of sort of gossip flying around the studio that it was overly nerdy and people wouldn't get it, and there'd be like one person guessing it.
Did anyone get it?
Loads of people did. Of course they know
well.
that T16, which is a reference to the Topi tool, but also in reference to the fantastic Group B rally car that was the Peugeot T16. But I would have accepted 405 T16 as well, which was the longer wheelbase Paris-Dakar version. Lots of fans out there,
I'm more of a Audi Quattro gal, but...
Still Group B.
Exactly.
Yeah, it didn't win as much as the Peugeot, though, so...
No, but it had a female driver. Yes.
Yeah, it did, French. Yeah, she was very good, yeah. There we go, that was the winner. Winner's on screen, thank you very much. We'll try and do more nerdy rally questions in the future. OK, we've got an ask, so use the hashtag #AskGMBNTech.
Ask.
There you go, you could do that too. Awesome. This is a great question. This is from Xavier.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like an EMTB Xavier. He asks, why does suspension firm up under braking? It's a real good one. It's pretty complicated, to be fair.
Yeah.
Do you want me to roll into what my thoughts?
You go for it, yeah.
Right, OK, cool. OK, it's to do with weight shifts to a degree. Mm-hmm. So when we were accelerating, our weight can move back, which is why suspension systems have anti-squat to stop that squatting motion. It's not that we've got loads of watts. It's because just our weight is moving and suspension is kind of soft and squishy. And that means if something's soft and squishy and we change the loading force and we're starting to move our weight forward as we slow down, so even if we're not on steep terrain, we're going to have that load shift and it's going to move our weight forward. So with a regular suspension fork, even if it's inverted, you shouldn't really get that much sort of brake dive, apart from just the natural motion of slowing down and loading. There are some suspension forks that use linkages, and I'm trying to think, I feel like in the past, some of them did have like anti-dive properties. So what they would do is place the brake on part of the linkage so it would sort of stiffen up. And it's a kind of interesting one because you think about if the fork is stiffening up, well, as it's diving, then potentially means you don't quite have as much grip. On the rear, it gets more fun and it's more sort of like easier to understand. So again, suspension design is a bit like when they use anti-squat. This is to stop the bike sort of like sitting into its travel as you accelerate with your weight shift. And that combined with a sort of like pedal, sort of erratic pedaling motion that we have as a biped means that, yeah, bikes can be really kind of like jumpy. So lots of bike designers use anti-squat to help sort of mitigate that. And it means that the bike can stand up and sit high in its travel. But they can also do that with sort of anti-rise with where they put the rear brake. Because what could happen is as you dive, if you're applying the front brake, your weight shifts. And if your back brake, where that brake caliper is situated in the linkage, could actually make the linkage open up even further, which then means that you're going to dive further forward. So, yeah, suspension designers can play with that and move where that brake caliper is to actually help the bike squat a little bit under braking, but not too much because, well, it would just be a bit weird. And the back brake is still slowing, your weight is still shifting. So there's not as much it can do. So, yeah, why does suspension sort of firm up under braking? It could be that your rear suspension, where they've positioned your caliper, it's designed to do that, so it's not diving into the travel. But it's pretty complicated. Sorry, that's like an overly wordy answer, but
nice quick section there. Yeah, so you're talking a lot about anti-rise and how your braking affects your position and makes the bike rise, hence anti-rise.
Yeah.
And then another reason that there might be firmness under braking is also brake jack, no? So some suspension systems, the position of the caliper will move around the disc as the suspension moves through its travel. And so if you apply the brakes, it can't do that anymore. So sometimes it feels firm when you've got the brakes on and you're going down a descent. So there's a lot of reasons. But yeah, sorry, that's just mountain biking.
No, but not sorry. Here's a great question. So yeah, use the hashtag #GMBN Tech for any of your tech questions and we'll get nerdy, just like this.
All right, comments from last week, because we were asking, will your next bike be aluminium or metal, steel, tie, or just not carbon, basically? And we've got Daily Neighbourhood Ride says, aluminium over carbon for sure. Alloy can be recycled endlessly without degradation to the metal. Carbon cannot be recycled. Well, it can, but just not into long-form strands, which is what you need for building frames effectively. But I think it might be coming in the near future.
Yeah, and also, so we're talking about alloys, and we mean aluminium alloys in general, but because steel is an alloy, so we just have to be careful. There were some comments, some good metallurgists out there. No, it's good.
Say the wrong word.
It was perfect. No. And also, actually, a very nerdy one about the metal. I also thought that aluminium could be endlessly recycled, but some of the really high grades that some of the brands use for top tier machining, so not necessarily tube drawing, but the machine stuff, that actually has to be a pure aluminium because it can't have the additives mixed in.
Oh.
But in general, you're right, easy to recycle, just like Coke cans. Sean218, ride and listen to more metal. There we go. Music choices and bike choices there. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Bongo Bob, I like that. Been looking at the S-Series alloy Atherton over an A-Series carbon they do. I think the alloy frame is much better looking. I mean, it's definitely striking, isn't it? I saw one in Elithan a few weeks back, and it's just, you can't not look at it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's incredible.
Yeah, no, they're really nice. And finally, Simon Rourke is saying, will my next be carbon? I've got no idea, but my current bike is carbon front triangle with carbon cranks, carbon rims, carbon bars, carbon saddle, carbon static outer dropper post, and Carbotecture brake levers. So there are some carbon fans out there because it can be this wonderful high-performance product. So it is out there.
Yeah, and then people wanting more fat bikes. We don't talk about fat bikes enough. So Graham Foot, hello Graham, we both know you.
Yeah, we do,
And you're saying, great to see salsa fat bikes. I'm guessing that's because you sell salsa in your shops. Does he sell salsa in the shops?
Well, he
is a big fat bike
fan, yeah. He
and
uses one
salsa
all year.
the fat bike brand. So Skaman says, we want more fat bikes on GMBN.
Yeah.
There's a couple of videos knocking about, but not enough.
Yeah, no, agree. So, yeah, we'll try and endeavour. And then we've got Jose142. Yeah, he's like, hell yeah, more fat.
What's his name?
Yeah, it's just there on
Jose
screen.
142.
There you go, perfect.
Cool. And what are we looking forward to this week? There's some stuff going on this weekend, isn't there?
Yeah,
10
there is.
maintenance skills that every mountain biker should know. Is that me?
I believe it is.
me.
Yeah, well,
There you
yeah,
go. I'll show you
know.
10
There you go.
maintenance skills. If it's not me, it's him. Probably.
It's not me. No, it is you.
Oh, it's me.
yeah.
Okay.
And then it's getting your pressure right.
Oh, well, that's
basically,
always good.
Yeah, it is, to be fair. Like, we do a deep dive in why you should care about setting tyre pressure. Potentially the thumb squeeze isn't what it
Isn't
used to be
that not
set
good?
up. Apparently not. Watch the video and find
The
out.
Satsuma test was perfect. Anyway, thanks for watching, and don't forget to join the debate down in the comments below about things that bring you unreasonable amounts of joy in the tech and bike world. Let us know down in the comments below. Bye.